Lawrence from Express Unity, and today we're going to be continuing our survival multiplayer series. Now I'm sorry it's been a little bit of time, I think it's almost been 2 weeks since the last video. Just been busy with work again, but I am trying to push for more videos on this series, so yeah, basically just going to get back into it. Now, before starting the recording today, I did do a bit of experimenting with our movement and spawning of the player, just because I haven't had the time to really figure out what was wrong with our movement, and why our second player kept spawning in the center of our map underneath all our terrain. So there is something I figured out with the spawning. So basically, because of latency, the time that it takes the island to spawn is slower for the... So there's basically nothing there when the raycast starts. The only thing that is there is the initial plane, and that's why it always spawns in the center. So all I did to fix that is over in the island spawner, I made a new, basically a new coroutine, and I just delayed it by a second. It's probably not a good way to do it, but the spawning of both players now works. It's all completely random. One thing to note though, is if someone is lagging more than 1 second behind, then this is irrelevant and they'll spawn in the center of the world again. So there would have to be some kind of check that we make that will increase this later on. But for now, because we're only testing it locally, this is fine. So, okay, so the next thing we want to do is kind of rewrite our movement script again. I know it's like, what, the third time? But there is a few changes that we need to make for it to work. So, what we're going to do... Alright, here's what we're going to do. So let's just comment out all of this code, so that if we make a mistake, we'll go back to it. And let's add a few things. So underneath the speed, let's go public float gravity. We also want our float vertical velocity and our float horizontal velocity. We'll set the gravity to 10, and then we want to clamp our values. So let's just make this a public float. We'll call it max velocity. Guess that'll do. And let's just make that 10. I think that is all we really need for now. Alright. Maybe we can add another public float. Let's just call it jump and make that equal to 10. That will be the force that we jump with. Okay, so in our fixed update, basically we're going to do almost the same as what we've done here. However, what we want to do is for our velocity, vertical input, sorry. We want to set these in the update. So dot get axes. We get the vertical, and for the horizontal axes, do the same thing but for horizontal. Alright. Now that we've got those set, what we want to do is go ahead and create a new vector 3. And this is going to be wrapped in the if float on view dot is mine. Okay, so we want to get the vector 3 target val is what I'm going to call it, equals to new vector 3, and this is going to be our horizontal. Y is going to be 0, and then vertical is going to be our Z. Alright, now we're going to make target val equal to the game object dot transform direction, so that it should always be facing where we want to go. Otherwise you're just going to end up having like some weird positioning problems, and it's not really going to do what you want. And then we want to apply our speed to it. So times equal, and then the speed value that we had already set up the top. And this is again what we're going to be changing with our run once we set this all up. Okay, so now we want to set basically the same thing that we've done here. So vector 3 val, that's going to be equal to our body dot velocity. Then vector 3 val change, and then this is going to be equal to our target velocity, take away our current. Okay, so that should be good. Now we want to use our clamp to basically stop what was happening before. So before, our velocity would just shoot off into nowhere, and that's why it was giving us these weird issues where we would just spawn in and then teleport somewhere. So val change dot x, this is going to be equal to mathf dot clamp, and that's going to be velocity change dot x, and excuse me, and then we want to do negative max velocity, and then the max is going to be our max velocity. And we basically do the same for our z. So z, and then for our y we want to do nothing. So we just set our y to 0. And even though we don't set our y at all, it's always good to just set it back to 0 after doing all of this, because it could change, giving us some further problems. Okay, so now we just want to apply our force. So we want to use good. I think I'm coming down with a little bit of a cold. It's not going to be fun. Okay, so add force, and this is going to be our velocity change, and we're just going to use the force mode dot velocity change. Alright, great. So now we basically want to add our gravity after that. So body dot add force, and this is going to be a new vector 3, so 0 on the x, and then our y is going to be negative gravity times body dot mass, and then 0 on the z. And I believe that should be it for a basic movement. So just give that a save and let it compile. Alright. So there shouldn't really be a difference to how the movement felt, other than it shouldn't be weird over the network now. So you can see we're moving. It's really smooth up hills, so you shouldn't actually see a difference when you're moving up hills. It should still stop if there's something too steep. That wasn't... Yeah, so if it's too steep, it should still stop. And it should still easily climb things that aren't that steep, though. You might be able to climb this. Yeah, you can. There is a bit of a speed difference, but, like, it does feel pretty nice. Okay, so... What you saw before, by the way, where it said there was nothing to render, that's because we switched the lobby camera before the player even spawns. So what we could do is basically just disable the lobby camera as we spawn. But I'm not really going to focus that, because that's an easy fix. For now, we're just going to build and run, test to see if this works, then we'll add our jump and run. And then we might start focusing on building in the game, and then after we start the building will then add the resources required to build, I don't know, wooden panels or stone panels, whatever, basically. So the inventory system we're going to make for the game is going to be very simple. It's not going to be anything complicated. It's just going to be basically we're going to have a few public variables like wood, stone, cloth, and then those are just going to increment depending on what you get. It's not going to be any like item dragging or anything like that. Just going to get the basis of a survival game out, and then you guys can basically expand on that on your own. Hopefully I've taught you enough in the series that you should be able to do that. Alright, so you'll see that if we join random, there's a bit of a delay before we actually see anything, but we do spawn. And if we join random on this one, we do spawn randomly as well, and we can move around. There's no teleportation when we start to move. There is no jump at the moment, so one of the players is currently set on top of a mountain, so it's going to be kind of hard to figure out where he is. Not down there, is he? No? Alright. Just going to try and find him to make sure all this syncing is working. I don't know about you guys, but I'm starting to really like just the look of the game. Like, it's kind of grown on me. It's a nice, simple, low poly look, but really nice. Okay, he's not down there. Gonna be walking around the entire island at this point. He's not down there. I just don't want to jump off the grassy plains, because then I won't be able to get up myself. Not there. I mean, if we can't find him, no big deal. We'll start working on the jumping and then spawn back in, and that might... Oh, maybe there, or did I already check there? I don't think it'll be there. It's really big. Alright, I think we might just give up there and just start on our jump, and then we will try and figure it out once we actually have better mobility. Okay, so now that this works, I'm just gonna remove this here because that's kind of junk. And actually, I'm gonna bring it back because I can't remember what I did for the speed. Okay, here it is. I'm just gonna copy this bit, and now I'm gonna remove it. Okay, so that's gonna basically go there. This is going to be target val. Okay, so we should now have our speed. And now, before we apply gravity, we want to jump. So we're just gonna say if input.get key down keycode.space, and for now all we're gonna do is say body.velocity equals new vector 3, and that's going to be our val.x. And then we want to have what do we want? Mathf dot square root. We're gonna do 2 times our jump height, times our gravity, and that should give us a pretty nice jump. Should make it somewhat smooth. And now we just pass in our z. And that should be good for our jump anyway. So we'll just give it as a save. test it locally before we build, make sure it all runs. We should be able to walk around, should be able to jump. Yep, that's feeling pretty good. Jump is really high, but and there's unlimited jumps, but that's gonna make it easier to find ourselves. Alright, so now let's test a run. I believe it was the double tap W. Yep, seems to still work. Works fine while we jump. We can strafe in the air. Get them real CSGO moves going. Okay, so that's feeling really nice. I'm really happy with that. Let's give that a save. Let's build and run. Come on, Unity, there it is. Yeah, well, I've been recording for 16 minutes, not too bad. I thought it was going to be a lot longer doing all of that, but might be able to start just some simple building. Let's log in with this one. Oops. All right. Join random. And join random. There we go. Great. So we should be able to jump. Yep, it is on fixed update. So that's something we'll have to change. Because it's on fixed update, sometimes it won't jump correctly. Might need to spam it for it to work. Just because fixed update isn't really meant to be handling anything other than physics. If you want input detection to be correct, you would do that in update. So we'll just have to make a boolean, and then in update we'll do our jump, and then just set the boolean to true or false. So I'm gonna try and jump up here. Hey, there we go. All right, so let's try and just jump. Okay, it's not gonna work here. Alright, I'm gonna just stay here, switch to the other player, and yeah, jumping on fixed update when the game is built is not really that well, so we'll have to change that because it does jump. It's not very well. That or my keyboard spacebar is broken. Okay, this is still gonna be a challenge to figure out where he is. Oh, there he is. Yay. Hey, okay, it's all working. It's all syncing. That's great. If I jump, yay, we'll be up in the air. Gonna make our own custom sync script so that we don't get this jittering. Because that's not a very nice look. But okay, it's all working. That's fantastic. Only took us like 3 iterations of our movement to get it working, but I mean, it works. Alrighty, so the next thing I want to do is okay, how can we do this? Alright. Here, we're just going to make it really basic, really simple for now. No real logic in the placement of things, no grid. We could do something. We'll see how it goes. I don't want to let this video run too long. So let's go ahead in the networking tab and under the players, let's create a new script, and I'm going to call it player data, or data, however you want to call it. So that script is not going to be too special. It's just going to hold a few statics. So it's just going to be a public static int, let's just call it wood, started off with 0, public static int stone, started off at 0, public static int cloth, and start that up at 0. And then we have two types of trees. We've got the ones that glow and the ones that don't, so we might make something like public static int and call it gunpowder. So if you mine the trees that glow, it gives you gunpowder, and then I don't know how it's gonna work. We've got this public data. We should be able to access all these variables from anywhere now. So give that a save, and now we want another player script. So I'm going to go into resources and remove this one and drag the one in resources out. And in the scripts player, we want to just drag in our player data. And now we want a new one, and let's just call it build manager. Alright. So this build manager is again going to go onto the player. Hello? There it is, okay. So let's apply that and disable the prefab. That should be good. Now, just for testing, we need to open our build manager script. But just for testing, we want to have a public game object array, and this is going to actually, for now, let's just make it just a single prefab. Let's maybe just call it cube, as we just want to test this out. And then in the update, first thing we want to do is actually inherit the using photon. Photon, and using photon.pun, and then we want to use my behavior pun. Then we'll just basically say if photon view dot is fine. And I just remembered that we had to change our play controller real quick. So with our jump, just copy that bit down there. And in the update, let's do it underneath all of this. And let's create how can we do this? We only want to give it a timer. You know what? We won't do this just yet. Let's just focus on just a bit of the building, and then we'll come back to it, the logic. 'Cause I really want to do something new. I don't want to get stuck on the player movement any longer. So, okay. So in our build manager, what we're gonna do, we are going to create a new array. This array is going to come from our own camera. So where is that? Let's just go ahead and create a public camera variable that will populate, and we'll just make this equal to cam dot screen point array, and this is going to be input dot mouse position. Fantastic. Now we want to get our raycast kit, and we want this to be called hit, and then we're just gonna say if physics dot raycast, we want to say ray, then we want it out to our current kit, and let's just say our build distance is going to be 7. Right, so all we need to do now is get our location of this hit. So let's just go and let's create a block. So let's create a new 3D object. Let's create a cube. Where did that go? Oh, there it is. Okay, so I'm just going to scale it on the X and Y by 2. And I'm going to create a empty. I'm going to drag the cube inside the empty, reset the position, and what I'm going to do here is drag the cube a little above so that if we go into global, it's local and then pivot, there it is. So if we click on the cube, you can see the pivot is in the center, but then on the main parent, it's practically at the bottom of the cube. So that's just what we want, because that's how we're going to offset this particular cube. When I go to model actual like building props and stuff, I'll set the origin for those already, so you don't need to do this. And you guys should just be able to go ahead and download those things. Actually, you know what? Maybe if we... Nah, look, for now, let's just leave it like that. No big deal. Let's just call it placeholder build object. And I'm going to call it, give it the tag of build. And so we're just going to tag both game objects. Alright, and this is going to go in our... We'll just put it in our resources folder. Okay. So, now what we want to do is basically say game object, actually we don't want to do it there. Where we want to do it is create a new void spawn building object. This is going to be a ton RPC, and I'm just going to pass in a vector3 position. Okay, so we should be able to just say photon view. Oops, and we want our photon view dot RPC, and we want to spawn the building object, and we are going to target everybody, and we may also just want to say all buffered. Basically what this does is it'll call the RPC on all clients, and then it'll call the RPC again on players who have newly joined. The only thing is I'm not too sure if the position is synchronized with all buffered, because it has... look, let's just try it out. At the very least, it should work locally. And then we just want to pass in our hit.point. Whoops. Hit.point. Oh my goodness, can I work properly? Hit.point. Alright, so now in our RPC function, we want to go game object, and let's just call this object equals instantiate, and for now we're just going to instantiate our... Wait, what did we call it? Oh, we called it cube. We're going to instantiate our cube at the current position, and we're just going to spawn it with plutonium.identity. So, with any luck, that should work. So let's just... Oh, actually, before we even do that, we have not given this any input. So when it does hit, it's just going to spam everything. So we want to go if input dot mouse button down 0. That should be our left mouse click, and there we go. So now we just want to populate all the variables that we set for it. So let it compile. And what do we have? So we need our main camera, and then our placeholder that we just made. So let's just apply that. Disable the player and spawn in, and hopefully we should just start seeing some very basic building blocks. So if we click here, there we go. We've got a nice little cube. And we should be able to stand on it. That's fantastic. Easy. So click, click. If we go and try and click. Oh, that was the collision of the tree. Okay, and now we're stuck. Alright. But it worked. So now what I'm just gonna try and do is you know what I might do? I'm going to disable. No, you know what? I'm just gonna leave it because I don't want to break it. I'm just gonna set all the objects other than the land object to 0 so that we can just see the players easily. But at the moment, everything's at a sweet spot, so I don't really want to lose it. Alright, so with any luck, this should work. I have a small feeling the position won't synchronize for the object, just because that's not really a public variable. Oh, whoops. What have I done wrong here? Doing random. Right, so we're basically at the highest point. And this guy's probably at the lowest point. Jump. Right, so let's try and figure out where that guy is. Oh, there he is. Alright, so let's just try and go on a flattish area with nothing there. Hopefully, when I spawn this object, both of us should be able to see it. So let's just... Hey, there it is. Okay. So we've got buildings synchronized across the network now. So if I switch to this guy, should be able to build just fine. Great, some monstrosity. But there you go, we've got synchronization working. None of these objects use a photon view, so it doesn't matter how many of these things there are spawned, it will never clog up the identities. At the moment though, the entire island takes up the views, so if we were to do anything like shooting and or building with the photon views, we wouldn't get very far anyway. But there you have it. It works. There is actually one thing I do want to test, because we had that all buffered. I just want to see if I join with another player, will he see? I'm just going to join with the same account. Hopefully that doesn't break it. I'm just going to see if he can see everything that is spawned. Hard part is going to be figuring it out. The second and third guys can't usually jump. It's weird. I don't know why. Okay, so that's the highest point up there, I believe. So we're way... Alright, so I keep forgetting that I can run now. Just need to find a way up to them. Come on, jump, jump, jump. There it is. Hey, it worked. Awesome. That's fantastic. So, everyone can see each other's buildings. Even when you join in fresh, all of this is still spawned in and saved over the network. That's actually fantastic. I didn't actually know that that's how that worked until now, so you learn new stuff every day. Alrighty, well, that's gonna do it for this this video. We have done quite a bit, fixed our movement, and added some basic form of spawning objects. In the next video, we are going to be applying our stats, so we're going to be basically getting our stuff working with just mining trees and stuff like that. And then we're also going to be making this proper with like a grid system and whatnot, so that we can't just place things randomly. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. And there was something that I wanted to say. We have recently gone over 600 subscribers, and that is so awesome. So I just wanted to thank every one of you for helping me out. It really means a lot, and I am so thankful that you guys are actually just enjoying the videos that I put out. So yeah, if you guys needed any help with this, again, we have a Discord server. Go ahead and join in. And if you like what I do, give the video a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.